St. Louis sports fans, go deeper with STL Sports Central Insiders. Get exclusive access to Bernie, Randy, Claves, Jamal Mayers, and more. Plus, your chance to watch a Blues game in the alumni box with Jamal himself. Monthly giveaways, Bernie's columns all week, and support for local sports media. Join now at stlsportscentral.com.
All right, more reaction on STL Sports Central to the Cardinals trade of Sonny Gray to the Boston Red Sox for a couple of pitchers, Richard Fitts, who pitched for Boston in the major leagues last year, and Brandon Clarke, a young left-hander, Bernie Miklasz, Randy Karraker, presented by DraftKings, where the crown is yours. And Bernie, I've tried to kind of walk around this trade from every angle from the Cardinals' perspective and try to find a negative for it. And the fact that the Cardinals have to give up $20 million, I think we all expected that would be part of what they would have to give up in a move for Sonny Gray. You get a young pitcher like Brandon Clarke, who a left-hander that apparently throws 100 miles an hour, has a chance, a big strikeout guy. Fitts might fit in as at least for a time as a fifth starter. I really like the deal that the Cardinals made. What are your thoughts so far?
I really do. And the more I found out about even Richard Fitts, at first I thought, okay, but when I started reading about him and looking into some of his stuff, I think Richard Fitts is actually going to be a pretty good starting or a good starting pitcher for the Cardinals. I think he slots in as their fourth or fifth starter right away. And Clarke is a guy that, let me put it to you this way, Eric Longenhagen, who is the prospect guy at FanGraphs, and he is great. He said that Clarke, as long as the Cardinals can get him to start throwing an off-speed pitch, which he needs to kind of offset his nasty fastball and his slider, he said he'll be an all-star. He's that good.
Wow.
Yeah, and I look at so I know there's an element of the fan base where Bloom could have got Garrett Crochet and Roman Anthony, and there would be people ripping them. So these people live among us. There's nothing we can do about it because they're not capable of being objective. But it's interesting, the independent views that I've seen so far, like Chad Jennings of The Athletic, who covers the Red Sox and covers Major League Baseball, he said, hey, this trade really works well for both teams. But he gave the Red Sox an A-, and he gave the Cardinals an A for the deal. And basically, the early reaction is like, this is exactly the kind of trade the Red Sox should make in their position. Mm-hmm. And this is exactly the kind of trade the Cardinals should make in their position. And so if you look at it with any degree of objectivity whatsoever, Chaim Bloom did really, really well. And one other thought, Randy, real quick. The criticism in Boston of him, and I talked to Rob Bradford at WEEI about this. The criticism in Boston, one of the criticisms, is that he had a hard time pulling the trigger. He hesitated. He wasn't sure. It was because he was a young first-time general manager working in a really chaotic organization for an owner who had fired Dave Dombrowski 6 months after he won the World Series. So anyway, I think Chaim Bloom's going to be a better leader of the baseball operation here because of what he went through in Boston. And the big criticism is like, well, he hesitates. He can't make up his mind. Well, I think he showed today that, no hesitation to make this trade. He was very decisive.
Yeah, and
I appreciate that.
To the point in regards to Gray, and by the way, the folks in New York still insist that the Sonny Gray experience there was because he couldn't handle the pressure. As a matter of fact, the headline in the New York Post was Yankees flop, Sonny Gray returns to AL East, right? But I think when he comes in, the perception is going to be that the Red Sox didn't give up a lot to get him. He's only got a 1-year deal. Crochet is their clear number one, but he's a guy, two of the five pitchers in Major League Baseball that have struck out 200 hitters in the last 2 years are Crochet and Sonny Gray. So I think from Boston's standpoint, this is a solid trade. I don't think, as you know, I don't think Sonny Gray is a number one. I think he's fine as a number two. Sure. And I think that, and I know a lot of people disagree. People think that the Cardinals should be going out and getting pitchers or players in their prime between 28 and 32. That's just not where the Cardinals are right now. And I think, like you said, fans need to come to grips with the reality that this is a rebuild. And much like the Blues a couple of years ago, when they traded off Tarasenko and O'Reilly and all those guys, the players that the Cardinals are going to get back are going to be really young, and they're going to be really prospects, but they have a chance to be, as you mentioned about Clarke, high-end prospects that can help this team when it's ready to win.
You know, I don't mean to be so sour, but I can't help myself. But it's like, how would anyone who claims to follow the Cardinals be surprised that this was the type of return they would get for Sonny Gray? Have they been stranded on Gilligan's Island or something for the last year and a half? I mean, could you at least pay attention before you spout off with your nonsense? You know, I don't know what they expected they were going to get. I think it was a really good trade. And, you know, the interesting thing, even though Chaim Bloom did not draft either one of these guys, and I see a couple idiots already saying, oh, you know, he only makes trades with Boston because he wants to get the guys he drafted. He didn't draft either one of these guys, okay? But I do find it interesting that because he built up the Boston farm system, depending on where you look at it, it's either top 3 or even number 1. And he did that, right? Because he built it up to the fact they have so much depth. The Cardinals benefited because he could get 2 of their best young pitchers in this trade.
Right. And by the way, the Yankees drafted Fitts. And Craig Breslow made the deal. He traded Verdugo to the Yankees to get Fitts back. Chaim Bloom had nothing to do with Richard Fitts being in the Red Sox organization, or for that matter, Clarke, who was drafted in 2024 when Bloom was already
but he built up the pitching depth. So
no doubt. Yeah, so they can afford to make that move, right?
Right.
Exactly. And they did the exact same thing when they made the trade for Garrett Crochet last year. The people that they traded for Garrett Crochet, and they didn't trade their top guys, but were products of the Red Sox when Bloom was in charge, and they still have their top guys. They still have Roman Anthony. They still have Marcelo Mayer. They still have Christian Campbell. They've got a group that made them the number 1 farm system last year, and they're still in the Red Sox organization at the big league level now. So Chaim Bloom collected a lot of inventory for the Red Sox, either to use or to trade.
It's a great word. You know, the Red Sox had that young left-handed starter who pitched a gem against the Yankees in the playoffs. It didn't work out so well in his second start, but whatever. He's a kid. And his name's Connolly Early, and Bloom drafted him. And when I was talking to Rob Bradford of WEEI in Boston a little while ago, he said that in Red Sox spring training, Brandon Clarke was so impressive that the writers and the broadcasters, when they would get together and have lunch or, you know, have a beer after the day is done, there was a lively discussion about, well, who is the best young left-hander? Is it Clarke or is it Connolly Early? And he gave me the impression that it was a legitimate debate, like which one of these guys had more talent, right? Well, if Brandon Clarke can turn out to be Connolly Early, the Cardinals got themselves a hell of a pitcher here. But he throws 100 like last year. And I want to alert Cardinals fans of that who are going to be looking for negatives. When he moved up to high A last year, he dominated at low A. He had a problem. His ERA wasn't very good. He had a terrible blister finger issue, and it just messed up his command. But last year in A ball, this kid struck out 14 batters per 9 innings. He allowed 4 hits per 9 innings, and he did not allow a single home run. I mean, how much time have we all spent, Randy, talking about the Cardinals need more starters who have nasty stuff? This guy with that fastball and slider and some other pitches, he has definitely got nasty stuff. And the other thing is he's already got the bad injuries out of the way. You know, right. So that's nice to know. He already went through the TJ thing and all that. So anyway, I think it's a pretty exciting trade.
In his pro debut, he threw 4 perfect innings. Obviously, that's in the minors, but he did it, and he did it with great stuff. And one of the things, Bernie, that as you know, I could take or leave Sonny Gray, but Sonny Gray was never going to be a horse. This guy is 6'4", He's got a frame that can fill out to 210, 215, 220. The Cardinals are going to have some big boys on the mound, guys that are capable of giving you 6 months worth of starting pitching in a postseason. When you have Liberatore, when you have McGreevy, when you have a guy like this, that to me makes a big difference. They're not that they're physically imposing, but they're physically capable of handling, and just because of the size, I'm assuming this,
right,
handling what it takes to get through a St. Louis summer and be able to pitch into the postseason. Because that the people like Chris Carpenter, Adam Wainwright, Danny Cox, the big guys that threw a lot of innings for the Cardinals, that was what they had in common, was that they were big fellas that could handle a sustained schedule that include June, July, and August pitching at Busch Stadium.
No doubt about it. And I like Sonny Gray too, but I didn't think he was a number one. He a true ace, but he's still a really good pitcher.
Mm-hmm,
and that sweeper is a phenomenal pitch, one of the very best in baseball in any pitch category. But he just gave up too many home runs, and he had that problem, in humidity and heat and all that. Maybe Boston will be cooler for him, but I think it's a good move by the Red Sox, and I think Sonny Gray will love the chance to win, and it loves the fact that the Red Sox wanted him. I think he's fired up about it. I haven't talked to him obviously, but I think he is. So this will work out well. Yeah.
If you're Boston, I think if you look at it from this perspective, I like Sonny Gray a lot at $21 million. I don't love him at $35 million, but I like him a lot at $21 million, which is essentially what Boston is getting him for, because the Cardinals are paying $20 million. Right. That's a really nice, and granted, they had to give up some prospects, but just the dollars and cents price tag of $21 million for a guy that's done what he's done for a long time now, I think that is more in line with what the price tag for Sonny Gray should be.
And I think there's no question that Brandon Clarke is the star of this deal from the St. Louis standpoint. But I would just say this, after doing some homework, let's not, what's the word? Let's not look at Richard Fitts as like, okay, he'll be in the major league rotation. Like, he's a back end guy, okay, they got another guy, he probably should help for a while, that type of thing. Let's not overlook him, because I'll tell you why. I'm going to go back to Eric Longenhagen of FanGraphs, who was responsible for, by the way, ranking the Cardinals farm system number 1 at the end of the season. And he follows this stuff. He's a maniac. When he updated the Red Sox top prospect list at the end of June this past season, he had Richard Fitts at number 5 and Brandon Clarke at number 7. I mean, so I think there's a lot more to Fitts than I thought at first. My initial reaction when I started to research his background, the way the Yankees moved him into the rotation, and the fact that the Yankees people were stunned because he had been a reliever in his first season in the minors as a starter. He threw 150 some innings, and they were thinking maybe he would throw 100 innings, 120. He's got a workhorse quality about him as well. So I'm just saying, let's not look, the people that would be inclined to be negative no matter what. Let's not act like Brandon Fitts was some kind of so what throw in this deal. No, he's a guy. He's a guy.
Bernie, I will confess, and I agree with you. Don't dismiss this guy. And I will point out that it was AA, but in those 152 and a third, he struck out 163. If you can strike out a batter an inning, regardless of where you are, that's a good thing. And clearly, a lot of people think that AA is actually more important than AAA. And he performed at a pretty good level, had a 3.48 ERA, only allowed 131 hits in those 152 and 2/3. This was 2023 that he did that. He's going to be pitching for the Cardinals in 26, and he's dealt with some injuries since then, but the talent level appears to be there. And like you said, he was pitching in the SEC. He was pitching in Auburn when he was a closer, and he was pretty big time there.
His fastball, his four-seam fastball average is 95.7. Okay. This isn't some junk guy, right? He's got to be perfect, hit his spots or they're going to batter him. The other thing is he's got a two-seamer that's really, really good. And the thing that this is also a guy that looks to me, Richard Fitts, or actually Brandon Clarke too, because he needs an off-speed pitch. This is a perfect job. These guys are a perfect job for Matt Pierpont, the Cardinals' new pitching director, who helped put that rotation together in Seattle. Because I was looking at Richard Fitts, and the one thing that I love this, but I also think it's going to change. He threw 7 different types of pitches last season. He can throw anything, but I bet you the Cardinals will remodel him and say, well, listen, okay.
Yeah.
You're going to have to stick more with what you do best. They're going to map it out for him. I think they can make this guy better. Anybody that can throw 96 and has got sinking action on his 2-seamer and his pitches have really good movement, that's a lot to work with a really smart dude like Matt Pierpont.
No doubt. Bernie, there's a couple of other things I want to touch on here.
Sure, man.
And by the way, we're brought to you by our friends at DraftKings, where the crown is yours. Don't forget, December 1st, you can start gambling here in Missouri, and all you need to do is download the DraftKings app, DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use that promo code right there, STL Sports, and you're going to get fast payouts when you win. A safe and secure app that's easy to use from a top-rated sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook app, DraftKings Sportsbook. Get $300 in bonus bets on launch day, December 1st. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use that code STL Sports, and new Missouri customers sign up today and score $300 in bonus bets once we're live. That's code STL Sports. The crown is yours in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 and over. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply. Subject to regulatory licensing requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable and expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.